Yonci. I am a dating coach, and today I'm doing a live stream on the topic of fighting fair. What does that look like? I'm going to spell it out for you, and hopefully you can tell if you are in a toxic environment or if this is a normal, healthy environment. Maybe you're the toxic one. So these are the traits. I'm going to give you a whole bunch. I mean, at least 10. I have them lettered, not numbered, so I don't know how many, but you're going to get a bunch of stuff. So if you are wondering if your types of fights are normal, you are in the right place. Hopefully you don't have somebody who is toxic in your life, but oftentimes you might just get used to a toxic environment. So that is the purpose of doing this. Hey, Clementina, nice to see you. All right, so we're going to start out number one. This is how actually I'm doing letters so I don't get myself confused, but you want somebody who has emotional control. They feel emotions, right? But they're not controlled by their emotions. Some people can just try to shut their emotions off and be emotionless and act like little robots. That's not a positive either. That's the pendulum swinging the other way. So this person is in touch with their feelings. They know what they're feeling, but they are not controlled by it. Okay. So you could feel anger, but you're not going to do things because of your anger. Okay. All right. So this person will not shut down and refuse to talk about it. So let's just say you bring up an issue. Hey, I have an issue with XYZ. And they say, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to be in a good mood today. I just don't want to, whatever the excuse is. And it might sound noble, right? That's really bad if they make it sound like wanting to have the conversation is the issue versus the actual issue. If you don't address issues, especially new in a relationship, you can have a false sense of peace, but that problem is going to rear its ugly head down the road. If you just brush things under the rug, it'll be like an elephant in the room. You can potentially have resentment later. You want to be able to talk about things and move on. Okay. B, we are going through tips on how to fight fair. These are things to look for in a relationship and apply to yourself if you don't have a good track record when it comes to fighting. And having disagreements is not an issue. It's not a sign that that's a bad relationship and you should run. Being upset by your partner is absolutely normal. There's nothing wrong with that. So in case somebody thinks, oh my God, we should be getting along perfectly, you're two completely different people who were raised in two completely different environments and have had two completely different life experiences. So this is a way to have the arguments, have the fights without it being damaging to the relationship. Okay. So A, doesn't shut down and refuse to talk about it. And B, we're now moving into B, it does not deflect, stays focused on the issue at hand. Oh my goodness. The worst is when you bring up an issue and say, hey, I have a problem with ABC. And they say, oh, really? Well, what about 1, 2, 3? Now, 1, 2, 3 might be something that is valid. It might be something that really has been bothering you. But for whatever reason, you've chosen not to speak on it. This is not the time to bring it up. So if when you're talking about eggs, he wants to bring up bacon, or he's talking about eggs and now she wants to bring up bacon, that is deflection. Okay. It's like, look over here, nothing to see here. Look, I'm going to distract you with this conversation. And it becomes confusing if it's something that you really do need to work on. So let's just say you're bringing up the fact that, I don't know, he's dirtying the house and he brings up the fact that you're late all the time. Well, you might actually be late all the time. That does not mean that because you're a late person or you have issues, no one's perfect, right? That you cannot bring up your issues of your own. So if you are the person who is doing the deflecting without realizing it, don't do that, because your points that might actually be valid are not going to seem valid if you're bringing it up in more of a tit for tat, or let's change the subject. Let's change it into something else. Okay. So you want a partner who A, does not shut down and refuse to talk about things. B, does not deflect. Let's talk about this and not what you're bringing up. Okay. Moving on to C, does not put you down. This is something that happens often in female relationships, like friendships. romantic relationships, family relationships. It's very common to where somebody might not be like, oh my gosh, and clutch your pearls as though somebody is physically violent towards somebody, but it is just as damaging. Okay? Putting a person down is damaging. So what I could say is, honey, when you take your socks off, it really bugs me that you turn them inside out or that you leave them balled up. We'll say that. Leave them balled up so that when I wash them, they don't get clean. And I've asked you so many times, hey, if I'm going to do the laundry for you, could you please just do that? And if he says in response to that, you're so stupid. You just focus on the most asinine little things. You should be grateful because da-da-da-da. And name calls or puts you down or is derogatory, that is not okay. You might have grown up seeing your parents do that. It might be funny where you grew up. I'm here to tell you it is unhealthy. It should not happen. And if you're the person doing it, you're the offender, shame, shame, shame. You should not be doing that. So you always want to depersonalize the behavior and focus on this is the behavior. The behavior that I don't like is the socks not being folded. It makes it so that I have to do extra work or your socks don't get clean. We focus on the behavior. We don't focus on the offender. I don't like this behavior. This behavior makes me feel like you don't care. This behavior doesn't make me feel supported, and we don't name call. We don't tear the person down, okay? D, toxic fighting is yelling or throwing things. So you might be giving yourself a pass and going, well, I don't hit him, I don't hit her, but you're throwing things, you're raising your voice. This is a volatile situation. Now, am I saying that you're never, ever, ever going to get frustrated? Your voice is not going to go up? No. But what you can do is when your partner says, honey, your voice is getting a little bit loud, take a breath. Take a breath. I am guilty of raising my voice when I feel like I'm not being heard. And so I try really hard to do great at communicating. But there are times I, as a dating coach, get frustrated. And if my partner says, your voice is getting raised, immediate, no back talk, just my apologies, and bring it down. Most people aren't going to get mad if you catch yourself because it's normal, you're human, you have emotions. But you should not continue to scream. Or if they say, hey, your voice is getting louder than I'm comfortable with, well, I'm just really mad. Not acceptable. Nobody wants to be screamed at. You should be able to use your words. And if you are not able to use your words, and this is a regular thing, you might want to reevaluate if you should be with that person. Okay? You should not take all that. You should be able to calmly have a conversation. E, this is really, really big. Guys say that women struggle with this a lot. But I gotta say it, okay? E, fighting fair means not cutting the person off, not interrupting them while they speak. Woo, this is a trigger for me. I do not like to be cut off because I try to be very effective with my words. And if I'm choosing to say something, it's because I believe that it is necessary to get my point across. So if I am cut off before I'm able to complete my thoughts, it is very frustrating because these are the only tools that I have. I can't use intimidation. I can't use, all these other tactics. I can't yell. I can't throw things, right? I only have my words. And I hate being passive aggressive. I hate passive aggressiveness with a passion. So if I'm being direct and I'm telling you exactly what the problem is and how you can solve it for me, for us, don't cut me off. Okay? So what you can do is not cut the person off. What happens when you cut the person off, it's usually the result of you feeling impatient out of defensiveness. That's one option. You feel like you are being attacked. You are perceiving them to be basically calling you out as being a bad person altogether, as opposed to actually hearing what's being said. No, I love you. I want to be with you. I just don't like this particular behavior. If I had a stain on my shirt and someone said, hey, Yonci, you got a stain on the shirt. If I listen without my ego, I can be proactive and go, whoa, let me at least clean it or go get a different one. Instead of hearing, oh, they're trying to tear me down. They're trying to take my shine. They're trying to take the ego out of it. You shouldn't have all these thoughts with a person that you supposedly are in a healthy relationship with. So if you're in a healthy relationship and the person is giving you feedback, it's just that. It's just feedback. So don't interrupt. Let them speak. And if you want to go really to the next level, you can say, what I hear you saying is. because, and I don't mean repeat it back word for word, because that's just, I have the ability to memorize. What you want to do is internalize the message and say it back to them and say, what I hear you saying is this. So we'll go back to the sock example. What I hear you saying is that my carelessness and just balling the socks up when I take them off and throw them in the hamper puts more work on your plate, which then frustrates you, and you've told me multiple times, and so now it feels like I'm not listening to you. Is that what you're saying? And then the person could say, yeah, you nailed it. That's pretty much what I was saying. Or they could say, no, you're completely not getting what I'm saying. Let me try it this way. The purpose of communication is like passing an item to the other person. I have information I want to get to you. I'm trying to achieve an emotion. I'm handing it to you. Now they have it and they got it. Okay? Thank you for the congratulations. F, we have these lettered, so we're on F. Another way to fight fair is to not be defensive. Okay? I had a conversation with someone earlier today, and it was beautiful. I swear I could hear angels like singing, because I brought an issue to them. I was really frustrated about it. And I said, look, here's my issue. This made me feel XYZ. This is not the first time I brought it to you. And they said, my bad. Not my bad in the sarcastic way of like, some people say it, but it was like they owned it. That's on me. I totally messed up, took ownership, and I'm really sorry. They expressed that they understood what their actions did to me as a result, even though it wasn't intentional. It wasn't intentional, but they expressed their apology, their empathy, and there was nothing else I could say. Oh, thank you. I feel better. I feel purged. When a person is offended, it's like having a rock in your shoe. And when you own it and you take accountability and you apologize, it's like removing that rock from the shoe, and now they can keep walking. There might be a little residual, discomfort, but it takes a big chunk of it away. Absolutely sounds like a mature person. Like, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I was like, oh my God. This is amazing. Amazing. And the more you do it, the easier you get, because you realize, oh my God, I don't melt like the Wicked Witch of the West to just admit, yeah, that sucked. I can see how I need to do better. I need to do better. Such a simple sentence. But if you have humility, your relationship will go so much farther. I've always said this for years. Pride and self-centeredness are the two most deadly cancers to a relationship, in my opinion. Your pride, your ego will keep you from saying the things that the Holy Spirit puts on your heart to say, and you override it because you'd rather feel better about yourself. But the interesting thing is, it's sabotaging your relationship, because your partner's not going to feel loved. And then you're not going to take ownership, and you're going to say, oh, well, this person left me because of XYZ. No, they left you because you would not work on yourself. Okay, so don't get defensive. G, this one kind of goes in with interrupting. Listens actively, not just waiting for their turn to speak. If you realize that this is kind of like a relay, I have something, I'm passing it to you. You have something, you're passing it to me. And there's a cadence to the argument, as opposed to everyone's talking at the same time. When you realize there's a cadence, you will start to be able to process your thoughts in a way where you listen, you ensure that you understood what they're saying correctly, you respond to what they're saying, meaning like, this is what you said, okay, here's my response to it, and then you make your point. Making your point is not responding to what they have to say. Does that make sense? So if I tell you, hey, it really bugs me that you ball up your socks and throw them in the hamper, even though I've asked you not to do that, and you respond by saying, well, I'm in a big hurry and I'm trying to keep the lights on and I'm paying the bills, and so I'm just in a hurry. That is not a response to what I'm saying. That is a retort. That is giving your point. So you want to first respond, and you could say, for example, hey, I'm really sorry that happens. Please charge it to my head and not my heart. I forget about the fact that you're the one doing the laundry. Oftentimes I'm in this headspace when I'm doing this. You can give your feedback. I'm under so much pressure at work, and the last thing I'm thinking about is socks and being balled up. And I'm just, at the end of the day, I just want to drop everything. Now that you can give after you've addressed the wound. Because when you offend someone, it is like metaphorically stabbing them and they're bleeding out. You need to first put pressure on the wound so that person who's offended can even hear what you have to say. Now let's take this sock analogy a step further. They could say, I am so sorry. I did not mean for that to be a burden on you. And then go into, this is my perspective. I have so much on my plate, da, 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 da. You guys might be able to come up with another solution or an alternate, situation. Maybe you find a different hamper or a different place for him to put his socks or whatever the case may be. But you've let both people, you let the offended person be dealt with first. And then you give your information, okay? And also I want to say this. You can express yourself if you think that something is like a false accusation. If you feel like something is not fitting of you, like they're fussing at you, but you don't feel like you deserved it. You don't have to admit that you were at fault. You don't have to say that you were wrong, and you don't have to say I was being malicious. What you are responding to is the pain that they have based on their perception of what happened. So their perception might be based in reality. It might not be based in reality. But at the end of the day, if you love that person, you're going to empathize no matter what, that they're experiencing that. Man, I am so sorry you felt that way. I do want to let you know, however, this actually happened. I was actually there, or I was actually taking my mother to an appointment. She had an emergency, whatever it is. Don't immediately respond with, well, this is what I was doing. Then it feels like you're not concerned with how they're feeling, okay? Because that does happen. H, this one is really, really big, really, really big. And it can happen to most genders, but I feel like it probably happens, the hurt happens a lot more on the woman's side. When you are fighting fair, you don't ever want to minimize their feelings. So let's say something causes one partner to cry and the other person would never cry about that. One causes the person to, be really upset for the rest of the day. The other person would have gotten over it immediately or wouldn't have even noticed it. It is not helpful in any way, shape, or form to tell them that their reaction is not what your reaction would have been. That's the beauty of being two different people. Okay? And a lot of times we're yin and yang as men and women, and we go together, we complement. If we were identical, we would not be so compatible. We would not be each other's helpmate. So part of our superpower as women is that we are sensitive. Guess what? We're sensitive to the needs of others. We're sensitive to children. We are sensitive to those who need help. Okay? We need that. The same way men need to be a lot more, more unbothered, right? Because we need that when it comes to our safety. I don't want a police officer who's just, oh gosh, I'm just so concerned about this person's feelings that they don't want to apprehend someone and put them in jail who needs to be in jail. Okay, so there's a place for both. This is not about one is bad, one is good. It's about letting that person be in a safe space. Lynn says, I hate it when people say what they would and wouldn't do if it were them. Like, it doesn't help. How did that help me? Thank you? No, thank you. Right? Yeah, so don't minimize their feelings. And this is a sensitive one too. Sometimes people think that saying you're going to be okay sounds like a nurturing thing to say. I can only speak for me. I don't take it that way. I feel like it's stating the obvious. Like, obviously I'm going to be okay. But right now, I'm hurting. Right now, I'm scared. Right now, I'm stressed out. I understand. Sometimes you just need to ask the person, when you're in this state, what can I do best to help you? For my partner, sometimes it could be giving him a minute. Sometimes it could be, tabling it for the next day. For me, if I'm really, upset, I want to express myself uninterrupted. If I'm emotional, but it's not something that you did, I want hugs. I want affection. I want to just be held and feel safe. So ask your person what they need in that moment. And again, don't do what works for you. I had a friend tell me how he wants to be treated when he's in a state of shock or sad. He wants to be left alone so he can process and whatever. And so this guy who was friends with found out his father passed away, like dropped dead, got the news, and he left Like the person telling me the story left. I was like, oh my God, if my parent passed away or I found out horrible news about somebody I loved, the last thing I would feel loved by my friend is for them to just leave. So you want to be careful that you don't, with the best intentions, love someone the way you want to be loved. Ask them how they want to be loved. Angel says, what if they don't express their feelings when you're asking them what's the problem or what are you feeling? Sometimes, if I'm assuming you're a woman based on the name, with men, they are not raised to express their feelings, and they're not raised to even really be in touch with their feelings. Like first they have to be in touch with their feelings and then express what they're feeling. It's somebody used this example and it was the most perfect metaphor for my brain to comprehend. They said, women, we have expressiveness like a box of Crayola crayons. You know, the big box that has the layers and layers of crayons. It has the individual little boxes and then there's layers on those. Men are given the 2 crayons at the restaurant, the green and the yellow. So imagine the picture that we could paint. These iPhones. Imagine the picture that we could paint, the artwork with our big box of crayons. We could do a beautiful sunset. We could do a whole flower bouquet. With men, there are only 2 contrasting colors. Now, I'm not saying all men are like that. I'm not saying all women are like that. But that is a very good description, okay? I love it. If I'm bleeding, don't ask me if I'm okay, ask me how I can help. Right. And interesting that you, as a man, said this. So what I would say, the man might be struggling with your verbiage of feeling because he might not be able to access his feeling and might not know how to express himself. But what you can say is, what can I do? What can I do to make it better? If he's frustrated, how did I upset you? Because men tend to be very action based. Like this action happened, this thing happened, this thing happened. What needs to happen for you to not be in this space? That's my best assessment. Men who are watching, let me know if that's, would work for you if you're not the best at expressing yourselves. Sometimes men can just know, I don't like this. I don't like it. But they might not be able to get granular on, I felt like it was a betrayal they could just, I don't like that. And part of the beauty of your relationship is that you teach the person. I've really been able to work with my guy in expressing himself first, showing him it was a safe space, right? Because a lot of guys, it might not even be you, it might be past trauma that either a mother figure or previous relationships have told him this is not in fact a safe space. Yeah, pour out your secrets, but it's actually ammunition that I'm going to use to pack into this gun. So some men have to, over time, be shown that you're a safe space, just like, God forbid, you were touched incorrectly, right? It might take you a while to realize, like, okay, your subconscious to realize this is a safe space. If he's touching me, this is a positive touch. It could take a while if you've been traumatized by something. So you need to be there. You need to show up. You need to show him it's a safe space. Do the things that I'm talking about in this video about fighting fair. Okay, I got one male cosign. And then eventually he will start to learn this is a safe space, and what maybe was a subconscious protection starts to fade, and then he's able to more verbalize. I'm telling you, I don't think he'll be mad at me saying this. I love hearing my guy tell me what's bothering him. At first, he had this look like when we got together, like, this is too good to be true. This is a trap. This is definitely a trap. And I kept going, it's not a trap. It's not a trap. If you tell me what you need, I can better serve you. I'm like AI. I'm like the Chat GPT. You keep giving me info, I'm just going to keep getting better as a helpmate. And so he stuck his toe and stuck his toe and stuck his toe. In a year and a half, I've never used things he's told me against him. I've never weaponized his vulnerability. And now he could be like, I don't like this. I don't like that. I want more of this. I want more of that. There are all these jokes, in TV shows or whatever, like, oh my God, don't criticize a woman's food. But like the other day, he said, this pasta dish that you make, it's not my favorite. I don't get excited about it. And it wasn't like he said it in a mean way. I was so excited about it. And my daughter was like, yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan either. But I said, I don't take that as an ego dig. I take it as, oh my God, I've created a safe space to where my person can speak authentically. And guess what? If he does rave about a dish, I know he's really serious, because that means that he's not just saying things to be saying things. So she said it takes maturity, patience, and thoughtfulness to be able to create a safe space for vulnerability. It does. And it takes work, y'all. I was not like this in my 20s. I could have won the Olympics of defensiveness. I couldn't even hear you. La 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 la, because I just wanted to do this. Yeah. So don't think, I just got this way or I was born this way. Absolutely not. It's not that we don't like your cooking, we just don't like the dish. Exactly. And that's the other thing. When you're not in a good, healthy space, you can hear, I don't like your cooking at all. Don't even bother. It's just isn't it for me. And there are certain dishes that he loves. And it's so cute because he gets so, in his feelings. He barbecues, right? That's his thing. He's a grill master. And so the other day he made something and he tried a different way of seasoning. He got this infuser and he's all excited, posting his stories. And I didn't care for it. It just tasted really salty. He knew it was salty. And, this little face. But I love the honesty. I want the honesty. I don't ever want my guy eating something, smiling, and wanting to throw it in the trash can. Tell me. And then I'll only make it for myself. I'll make a smaller portion. Okay. So we were on H. Don't minimize your feelings. By the way, I'll put this on YouTube for those of you who missed the beginning. This one is huge because I went through this hell with a previous partner. Doesn't threaten to leave. If you experience a partner who threatens to leave when they are angry, that is unhealthy. That is traumatizing. That will trigger abandonment wounds. If you didn't have abandonment wounds, it can create abandonment wounds. Do not lightly threaten to leave. And if you are considering leaving, don't announce it during an argument because it will sound like a weapon. Okay? And I'll give you some grace. The reason most people do it is because they feel like they're not being taken seriously. Okay, so two wrongs don't make it right, but the reason a lot of people do it is because they feel like they're not being taken seriously. The person doesn't understand the degree in which they are hurt. So if both of you start practicing, maybe watch this with your partner. If both of you are practicing fighting fair, it won't escalate to the level where you feel like you have to threaten. You know what? This is it. I can't. No, that's just your pain. That's you feeling like you're not being heard. That's where you feel like you're not being respected. But that should not be that is not a part of healthy fighting. That is not fighting fair. Threatening to leave is traumatizing. And it's going to make the person feel like you have one foot out the door and any mess up, boop, they're out of here. Okay? All right, we got a couple more here, 4 more. Or actually, no, it's not 4 more, 3 more. When you take accountability, Jay, fighting fair is taking accountability. Okay, so the person says to you, this really bothered me. And this is something that you can do to kind of try to keep your ego at bay. If a person doesn't care about you, they are apathetic, meaning whatever you do, I'm not fazed. I've experienced that in a relationship. It is a pain worse than emotional death. Okay, it's an emotional pain like an emotional death. When they are apathetic, they do not care. They're not giving you feedback. They're not giving you anything because they literally don't care. When a person cares is when they give feedback. So try to look at it from that lens that this person is trying to fine tune me to be the right helpmate for them. If they didn't care to fine tune you, they're not investing in you. They're not caring if you are a great helpmate or not because they don't plan on sticking around or they've already figured out how to check out mentally. So if your man, your woman is saying, this is what I need specifically, go, yes, I have a partner who knows how to communicate. I have a partner who is in touch with their emotions, in touch with their needs, and is able to communicate that effectively to me. You could be like the sister who asked a question a little bit ago, what do I do if the person can't express themselves? So look at the glass as half full. This person loves me enough to try to help program me into being a better helpmate for them because they're choosing to stick around. They want to stick around. They want to have a healthy relationship. Letter K, I don't know how many that is, if you can count letters, but we're on letter K. How to fight fair. Don't pout after the disagreement. If you have ever been with somebody who is highly emotional and holds grudges, it is exhausting. It is exhausting. You can apologize. You can come up with a solution to move forward. We're not talking about somebody who does the same thing over and over and over and over again. But let's just say there was an offense. You expressed the offense. The person owned it. They took accountability. They apologized. They said, here's the plan moving forward so that it doesn't happen again. And you are in a bad mood for the rest of the day, the rest of the outing, whatever. Don't do that. That is absolutely, you may as well just throw in the whole conversation away. You just negated everything that was done. Now, I'm not saying you have to fake it and act like you're happy if you're not happy. But at some point, you have to choose to move forward. Which brings me to the last one. Fact number L, forgives and let go. If you choose to stay in the relationship, you have to forgive that person. You have to let go of that pain. And part of that comes from giving that person grace in realizing they're human and they are flawed. And then you pull up the old thing called a mirror and you realize, oh my God, I'm so flawed. And if you start to ask them, hey, what are some of the things that I do that really work your nerves? Or what are some of the things that you overlook? They probably, if it's a safe space, will give you a whole long list of things that they let go. We are not as perfect as our ego wants us to believe we are. And one of the best things that you can do for a man is to create a happy place. I did a survey. My patrons already got this, but I did a survey and I asked the men and I said, out of all these things, which do you prioritize more? Let's say you're coming home to your wife. Is it her looking good? Is it a delicious meal on the table? Is it her being in a good mood? Is it her clean house? And almost unanimously, the men voted for being in a good mood. Men are so affected by our mood, and that's an honor. That is a privilege. That means that their world is like do you see how powerful that is? If you spin it, that's powerful. That me being in a good mood has the residual effect to make him be in a good mood. He wants to come home to a woman who is happy, who is at peace, and everything else is second. That's pretty cool that that's such a big deal. And so in the reverse, you being in a bad mood, you being down, even if it's like you're constantly bringing stressors from work home or you're bringing other things that he didn't do wrong into the relationship, you have to figure out how to control your emotions to where you're not a negative Nancy. You're not this dark cloud. You're not like the Eeyore character from Winnie the Pooh and you just walk around with your own personal rain cloud. He said, a good mood is golden at the end of a hard day. You know? And I say this, it can sound condescending, but I promise I don't mean to be. If you think of yourself as a golden retriever, a cute little puppy, and you think about what it's like to have that wonderful little puppy when you come home, that's a pretty good metaphor for what men want. Excited to see them, pretty good spirits. You know, today's a new day, present in the moment. There are just so many things that are amazing about a cute little puppy. Okay? You know, those puppies don't have to put on big old eyelashes and thick makeup. That was just like extra, right? Be natural. Be natural. Just make sure you look neat and tidy. Keep your nails clean, you know, whatever. But that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I will be posting it on YouTube. It should be there in the next 15, 20 minutes, I would say. How to fight fair, what fighting fair looks like. And it'll be on my YouTube channel, Chasing Yonci. If you are on my YouTube channel and you're watching the replay, comment replay, and I can show you some love once I post this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell a friend about my channel. Share with your lover. And hope you have a more healthy relationship. Have a blessed day.